Hi there. Today, I want to address a question we get quite a lot with good sense, which is which attribution model should I be using when I use your product? Um, it's an answer that has a lot of, well, it depends. And I'll get into that in just a minute. But I just want to say, first of all, any model attribution model that you would use with only having, let's say, 5% of the customer journey represented is basically gonna be wrong. So before we can think about what is the right attribution model, we need to make sure that we actually have a go-to-market data warehouse that contains all the touches for our B2B. So if you think about this journey being, let's say you have 100% touches, then you might have 60% of those touches are actually represented with data across your different data silos in your go-to-market. The other 40% might be word of mouth, met at a conference, etc. But let's say you only had 5% of these things available, then whatever attribution model we're going to select afterwards, which I'm going to demo for you, is practically going to be wrong or misleading because it represents only such a limited scope of what's actually going on. So step one, make sure you collect all the data that you have available in any data silo, get it into one go-to-market data warehouse, and then you need to organize all this data into a unified account-based timeline of like every touch of every account. And I'll give you an example of how this looks, at least with the Dreamdata UI. So here I've pulled up a customer journey of an account we just won recently. So if we start by looking at the specifications here, so the MQL stage, that was when we first got an email from this company from somebody who booked a demo or signed up for free. That happened back here. Then there's a long path where nothing happens. And then suddenly another person starts the demo call. And then this person also goes on to sign up for free. And then other people in his team starts to get involved before it becomes an SQL and later on one. Now, if we look at our attribution models here, what it will tell you depends so much on, first, you need to decide on which stage are we interested in. Is it the full journey from first touch all the way to new biz? Is it just first touch to MQL? Because if we say this perspective, first touch to MQL, then the last touch would be this session here. I'll show you what that is in a minute. And the first touch would be this. The linear model would split the value 50-50 here, and so forth. If you're really interested in knowing what starts journeys that you win, then you would need to select the stage model to be from first touch all the way to us winning the deal. Then the first touch would remain the same, but the last touch would be whatever happened as the last thing here, probably this one. We can go in and see what that was in a minute. But you see, depending on what is the timeline you're asking about, which pipeline stage are we actually talking about here, matters immensely in terms of what the attribution model is actually describing. So first, select the stage you want to inspect from when to when. And then when we then ask which attribution model is the more important, well, that depends again on the question you're trying to answer. So if I take all my deals from first touch to new biz, then I, as a marketer, get to see what are the things that we're doing in our marketing, in our go-to-market, that are consistently starting journeys. Those things you probably want to be doing a lot more of if possible. And you might also see that you're running a lot of stuff that never actually progress all the way to new biz. So that might be, you have a bunch of accounts that only reaches MQL stage, but never go all the way to new biz. Now, if you ask me as a marketer in a B2B company that has a strong sales team, then what I'm interested in is first touch all the way to producing sales qualified leads or new biz. So I would set my stage model as that. And then I would be using one of the models that kind of appreciates the first part of the journey, because my job as a marketer in a B2B company is mainly starting new journeys, putting more qualified stuff into the pipeline. And the way I know that my activities are measured upon this is that I set the stage model to SQL or Newbiz. So it's accounts that go all the way to very qualified stage. But then I use an attribution model to go to look very early. What are the places? Is there certain pieces of content that is driving organic traffic? Could it be webinars we have all up front, or is it certain keywords in Google search that are actually starting these journeys? So now let's go in and look at this specific journey inside of Dreamdata. So what you see here is really that all these sessions here actually dot actually represents sessions. So I can click this session, see specifically which this one started with LinkedIn paid. Then they got an email. Then this person only came directly, which makes sense because his two colleagues has probably introduced him to it. Here, another colleague came from Capsera because they've probably been reviewing us, like reading reviews. Can we trust these guys, etc. And then you can see like every session here represents something. And this really highlights also why B2B is so complex and why B2B marketers needs an account-based timeline of what's going on. Because if we only have an individual path, then we only see that this person here had this one singular journey, but it's not the guy who signs the contract. It's this guy down here who starts reading reviews, etc. This means that the ad spend here would just look like, a cost. There's no associated, SQL or Newbiz to it, because that takes place on another person. So sorry to bring the news to you that your B2B go-to-market is complex, but if you do utilize all the information that you actually sit on in your company, then you'll be able to go into each pipeline stage, see what brings the deals forward to this pipeline stage. And once you have all that data organized nicely, then you'd be able to apply an attribution model to highlight different things. And if you don't have an account-based timeline, you're going to be pretty lost in this case. So what's the best attribution model? It depends on what you're trying to solve. Is it what is the last touch when we win deals? I'll bet you in most B2B companies, it's a sales activity, a meeting or a call, something like that. So the models I prefer myself is stuff that takes place early in the journey and then go all the way through to being sales qualified leads or pipeline one. That's all for now. Feel free to reach out with more questions. Bye.